Hello everyone and welcome to the Joomla ACL Explained webinar. Today we're going to try to demystify the core Joomla access control list function. Now ACL is one of the most popular features of Joomla, and using ACL you can do two things. Number one, you can control two things. Number one, you can control what site users can do on a website and what site users can see on a website. You can create users and user groups. You can assign permission levels and access control levels as well. It is a very robust and powerful system, and it attracts a lot of new users to Joomla, but it also raises a lot of questions. We see questions, our support team sees questions every single day about ACL. And so we've created this webinar to help clear up some of those questions. Now, my name is Ryan Bernstein. I am your host and moderator today, and I'm with CloudAccess.net. We are the host of the official demo trial of Joomla at demo.joomla.org, and what you can do through our platform is launch a free trial of Joomla, and that free trial is active for 30 days. And you can attend our free webinars, use our documentation, but what really makes us unique is that you can call our support team to get direct help with your Joomla site. Now, you can upgrade to a paid hosting package at any time with CloudAccess.net, but today we want to teach you about ACL, and your host is going to cover, or your presenter is going to cover basic ACL terminology. You're going to learn how to create new users and user groups. You'll learn how to assign permissions and create access levels. You'll learn how to create categories, articles, and menu items for specific users and user groups, and you'll also learn how to test ACL functionality on the front end. Now, your presenter today is Jonathan Gaffel. He is the CloudAccess.net support team manager, and he, around here, is a Joomla jack of all trades. Not only around here, but actually in the community. He's spoken at a few Joomla Day events in the Joomla World Conference. He's been part of some very, very large site builds, Joomla site builds, and his knowledge of Joomla is quite extensive. John, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah. How are you today?
Check, check, check. Okay. I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Well, thanks. Folks, you can see our contact information at the bottom of the screen here if you want to tweet about this webinar or email us directly or go to our homepage. We'll be following the Twitter channel during the webinar if you want to post questions, but you can also find that GoToMeeting slide out question area and post a question either to me or Jonathan about ACL. I'll read those questions to Jonathan at the end of the webinar, and hopefully we can answer the questions that you have. We'll also talk a little bit about some of our upcoming special webinar events, including one that's coming on Monday. That is an add-on to, or sort of an addendum to what this webinar covers. We're going to be talking about the ACL Manager, a very popular extension for Joomla, something that's going to make ACL a lot easier for you in addition to the knowledge you'll pick up today. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this to Jonathan, the presentation, but I do want to remind you that we are recording, and a recording of this presentation will be available to you later today on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/cloudaccess. I'll show you that at the end of the presentation too, where to find the recording. And John, I'm going to go ahead and pass the presentation to you if you're ready.
Sure thing, yeah.
Cool. Folks, don't be shy. Let us know where you're attending from. Find that GoToMeeting slide out question area. Post questions. John might ask you some questions during the webinar. You can respond there as well. And just one moment as we change presenters here.
Okay, cool. So we're going to start here with one of the webinars that Bernie did in the past, this CloudBucks Cafe. That way we don't need to go through the steps of, creating the basics of a site. We can start with hopefully where you are all starting at, with a site that's already built. And you want to kind of add some cool features that involve getting into the Joomla ACL a bit. A couple things that we're going to do. We're going to go through and create some user groups, and we're going to basically make it so you imagine with this type of business, you've got customers, you've got employees, you've got some managers, and maybe some developers that are all going to be interacting with the site in different ways. And the idea is to kind of create the user groups and using ACL, make it so they can all log in and have access to different sections, be able to do different things, perform different functions. So I kind of got a little bit of an idea beforehand of what would be nifty to add in here. So I'll just run through it, and then we'll go ahead and perform the task. So first thing is, we'll think about the site visitors being the people that just go to the site. They click through the pages. They see, I apologize, the site is kind of half built here. They see different pages on the site. Maybe it's promotional material. Maybe they go to the Contact Us page, or do different things. That's pretty fundamental. Everybody should have that down. Joomla does that out of the box. But then, let's say, for instance, we've got customers that you might want them to be able to access some material that that regular site visitors can't access. Maybe they're going to want to create an account and maybe get to some certain coupons that aren't available to regular site visitors. And then we might have employees. In this case, it would be baristas, people that make your coffee in the morning. What we're going to do is go through and add a section where baristas can go in and create content into a certain section of the site without risking actually breaking other parts of the site. That would mean they don't do this through the back end. They log in, they go through the front end, they can add content into certain categories, but they're not able to do other things. And then we're going to create a manager section, that would be the managers of CloudBucks, where they can go in. They still can't log into the admin panel, but they can go in and administrate the content that the baristas add. Maybe the baristas are adding blog items. I think that's what we're going to run with. And so these people can go in and have a little bit more privileges in terms of editing and modifying that content. And then we're going to create a developers section where a developer, you can give them access, username and password, and they can log in and they have access to the back end. But we're going to assume in this case that you don't want your developers to see your customer list. That would be all the users. So we're going to block them from that area. And once we have all this set up, then we're going to go through and look at the mechanics behind it and see exactly why it works this way. I'll probably be doing that during the modifications, but we'll kind of take a little overview afterwards, and then I've got a few tips and tricks that we can some nifty things that we can do with ACL on top of just these fundamental parts that we're going over here. So first things first, I've got access to the front end here, and then I've got the back end of the site right here. Again, we already have articles created, we already have menu items, so we're basically hopefully starting from where you're starting, with a site that's pre-built. If you're just starting to build your site at this point, you kind of, this goes for all of you, you're going to have to kind of adapt what we're doing here to the ideas that you could use on your own site. Hopefully it's not too much of a stretch to use CloudBucks, but this is really any brochureware site can utilize these features. And some of you may have developers and maybe even different types of people that might have different uses for different parts of the site. So we'll jump in here and get started. First thing we're going to do is go through and create these different user groups that I went over. We've got the site visitor, we've got the customers, employees, employee managers, developers. So I'm going to go into the back end of the site, and under the users we go to the groups. And I'm just going to run through and create a whole bunch of them at once. So just run through. We're going to create, of course, site visitors. That is the public user group being right here. So that's already created. We don't need to worry about that. Okay, and we go ahead and create the customers. You have to excuse my spelling throughout this. And because customers are going to have the same privileges as basically a registered user, you're going to want to go and make that be the group parent. One thing I need to mention, sorry, backtrack just a little bit. Before you go messing with ACL on your site and do anything like this, go create a backup. You can go into the Cloud Control Panel and hit the backup button. And if anything ever goes wrong, you can just drag and drop the backup into place, and that will ensure that you're doing these things safely. You can also request that we launch a dev site for you. That would be like a staging site where you don't need to worry about playing around with your production site that's live. So once you've done that, continue forward here. So the customers, the group parent is registered because we want this group to inherit all of the access control levels that this group has. So we'll go ahead and move forward. Of course, Joomla now has these cool buttons here where we can just hit save and new and not even fuss with going back to the main screen. So then we want to create the employees or the barista section. So we'll just call it baristas. Barista. Okay. And with these guys, what we want these people to do is be able to create content and modify their own content, but not necessarily going to be able to modify other people's content. So, so we're going to give them the author parent. Now, right now, we're using the parents, these groups that are already created. You'll have these in your Joomla site as well. Ultimately, I will show you the mechanics as to why we're using these in a little bit. So for right now, we're just going to go on faith that these are the correct ones. We'll let you know why in a little bit. Okay, then we've got the manager. We'll call these, employee manager. Okay, and then for these, we want these people to go through and be able to do everything that an author does, or a barista in this case, but we also want them to be able to edit the state of the content. That will make a lot more sense in a moment as well. We're going to go ahead and do that. And then, of course, we want the developers to have access to the back end of the site. So, okay. And with these people, we want the parent to be administrator. Basically, the administrator role has the ability to access the back end of the site. The difference between the administrator and the super user is basically the administrator does not have access to modify global configuration or those main sections. So we go ahead and select administrator. We'll hit save and close because those are all the groups we're going to be working with. Let me give you a little bit. Let's see here. Yeah, okay, so we're good there. Now what we're going to want to do is go through and assign permissions to these groups. Actually, no, let's go through and we'll create some users first. That way we can kind of jump in and start logging in and viewing these portions and see what happens. So I'm going to go into the user manager and create a couple of users. So we're going to call this Tom Barista. This will be our first barista, and I'm just going to give him the same login name, Tom at cafe.com. Okay, and we don't want him to receive any emails or any of this other stuff. We can just leave all that blank. Okay, and then we go down to assigned user groups. This guy is a barista, so we want to go ahead and give him barista access. And we'll go save and new. And we'll go Joe Barista. And password. And same here. Now, technically, you could do this without selecting registered because the barista is right now inheriting, because it is a child of this parent user group. it is inheriting all of the access levels that the registered user can do. Technically, we probably could have just changed the name of registered to Barista or just given them registered access. Actually, no, I take that back. We can't do that because this is going to be used for our customers who are inheriting that same level. So technically, we could. We need to have him as a separate group. So let's go through and create. We'll create an employee or a manager. So Tim, manager, and actually I'm going to go through just to make things easier. I'm going to make the login names a little bit different. Go ahead and we'll just call them Barista 1 and Barista 2. That way I don't need to refer back and try to figure out who's who. Okay, and so we have two baristas, a manager. Let's go through and create a customer account. Oops. And Bob is obviously not going to be working here, so we'll give him just a normal email address, Bob. Okay. Assigned user groups, we want to give him customer access. And we'll go through and create a developer account as well. Developer. Okay, so we have all of our users. Of course, we go to the front end of the site, and we're going to need a place for these people to log in. So it's kind of the first step in utilizing the ACL is providing access to these areas. So we're going to go to the module manager, create a new module for the login. Actually, I guess let's take it a step further. Instead of just creating a login module, let's create a menu that that basically provides these people access. We can say, sign up for an account, maybe log into your account, just a menu with different options for these people. So I think there's already one set up actually. There's a user menu right here, yep. So let's say, all right. User manager, okay, so we want one of these to be logged into my account. Oops. Okay, and we want this, of course, to be visible to everybody. And we'll do another one. We'll do, let's see. Let's say view profile. That way the customers can, add and modify information on their account. But of course, this is something that we don't want everybody to see. And if somebody goes to the site and they don't have an account yet, the whole view, modify profile, let's make sure we got the right one here. Yeah, we want this to be edit user profile actually, not just view. So we'll do view, edit, and we can actually call this account. And because we don't want regular customers to see this or regular site visitors to see this, we're going to set this to registered. And that way everybody with registered access or above will be able to see this menu item. And let's see, one more. And we'll just set up a spot where people can register for an account. Call it sign up. Do a call to action on it too. And that, of course, is something we want people to see. Okay, so of course it's not going to show up on the front end yet because we do actually have a user menu created. If that had not already been done, we would have had to go into the module manager and create a menu. But it looks like when Bernie had done this webinar before, he already had a user menu there. So we're good to go there. So basically what we do is we want to log in. Let's log in as, we'll do the manager. Or let's do a barista. We'll do Barista 1. And of course we get in here and we can see that there's a bunch of information here that looks like they actually in this webinar prior had set up the user profile plugin, which kind of extends the ability for you to collect information from people when they register. I'll show you where that is real quick, so that kind of does relate. Go to the plugin manager and we're just going to go to page 3. See this user profile right here. I believe by default that's not enabled. So go in here, click basic options, and you can see by default Joomla of course only captures information from let's say the email address, the username, that basic information. If you want to capture other information from people, you can utilize this stuff. So right now, of course, we did not provide this information, but yeah, this is good stuff to have. Another kind of cool thing about this, kind of a tangent, but it's a really nifty trick. Let's say, for instance, region. This is something that you may not want because let's say this is an American company. We might want it to say state as opposed to region. So we can actually go through and go into the language overrides and change that to say state. Just go to extensions, language manager, and overrides. We're going to click new. And we just want to search the word region. That should come up. Huh. Well, that might be somewhere else. We'll skip that for now. If it occurs to me on why that's not working, we'll jump back to it. At any rate, you can modify these to say different things if you want to capture very specific information from your logged in users. So let's go back to the home page. Right now, as you can see, we logged in as the barista, and now we can see this view edit account. That's kind of the first little ACL bit that we've got in there that was not available to people that were not logged in. But right now what we want is these baristas to be able to go in and add little blog posts. Maybe maybe it's a daily special or whatever it may be. We want them to only be able to do that, nothing else. So what we're going to do is create a new menu item. So we're going to go to the main menu, and we'll call it Barista Blogs. As you can see, I've already got that in there. And we're going to make this a category list layout. Actually, we'll do category blog. No, we'll do category list layout. Okay, so we want this to be set to public because we want people that go to the site to be able to view this menu item right here and click on it and see all the cool blog posts that the different baristas are putting in. So we're going to leave this as menu item root because it's going to show up just right on the main menu. So here we choose the category. We already have a category in here called Barista Blog. And what we're going to do is set it so the baristas are only able to add articles into this category. They can't add anywhere else. So go ahead and choose that category, hit save and close. looks like there was already a menu item in there that has that same name, so same alias. So let me check the trash. I think that it's probably in here. Yep, there it is. So we'll just remove that real quick. Okay, disregard that. We'll go back. Try it again. Okay, so we're going to go to articles, category list layout, and we want Barista Blog. Okay, so this is how it should look. Again, public access. Everything else looks good. Let's save and close. Refresh the page here, and we now have the Barista Blogs menu item. Of course, looks like there actually is an article. I apologize, that's something that should have been cleaned out too. Let me go remove that so we can start fresh. Okay, this just is in the wrong category. Okay, so right now we've got an empty category. There's nothing in it because the baristas have not posted to the blog yet. So the next thing we want, when baristas log in, we want them to be able to see a sub-menu item right here that says Add New. Basically, that's going to only be available to them, and it's going to allow them to go and post put their blog posts up there all they want without affecting the rest of the site. So let's go ahead and we'll go back to that menu and we'll click New and Add Blog Post. Okay, articles. I'm trying to think here. Create article, that's what we want right there, under articles. And we want to make the, actually what we're going to need to do before this is, you can see there's no access level available for the Barista Blogs, or the Baristas. So we're going to want to create that. So we're going to backtrack just a little bit here as well. All right, so we're going to go to the User Manager. Or users, then access levels, and this was a remnants too. We'll remove that. Okay, so we're going to, these are the ones that you're going to see in core Joomla. So we're going to go ahead and create a new one, and this access level we want to add the baristas. We don't add registered because we don't want customers to be able to see this. We can also add authors, but that's not really necessary at this point. Okay, and then we'll call this Barista Blogs. All right. So now we go back to the menu. We'll go ahead and create that menu item one more time. Okay. Articles, create article, and add new blog, or add blog post, access Barista Blogs, and let's make it so it is a sub-menu item from the Barista Blogs. Okay, you can see that nested right in there. It is access level. It's only available to people with the Barista Blogs access level. Now let me go, let's see here. Here we've got the Logout button. We'll just look and see what this looks like for a general site visitor, and then we'll log in and see the difference. So right now, as you can see, a site visitor cannot view that menu item. We'll go ahead and log in. Okay, I've got Joe Barista. Here I can update my information. And when I hover over Barista Blogs now, I can go ahead and click the Add Blog Post. Now, there's one thing that we didn't do here. basically what the problem with this setup is that this barista is able to add articles, but they're not adding articles into that specific category. And that is a really important part here, because what's going to happen is they're not actually going to show up under the Barista blog. So we've got to go back into that menu item here. And here under Advanced Options, we want to choose the category Barista Blogs. We'll go ahead and hit Save and Close. And that makes it so when these baristas add a blog post now, we'll go ahead and test it out. Go to my favorite sample text site here, lipsum.com. And we'll grab some sample text. And let's say, find day to be a barista. Okay, and so there's really no way that they can, end up posting anywhere else. They do have access to do a couple of things here, but it's not really to the point where they can, make changes to anywhere else on the site other than adding and modifying their articles within this category. So we'll go ahead and hit Save. And we can go to the Barista Blogs. No, that should have gone in there. Let's take a look at it. You see, the way that we have it set up here, the baristas have access to the author state right now. That's basically the barista. Let's go back into the groups. This is kind of an important lesson on how this works. Baristas are nested under the author, but not under the publisher. So by default, when they go through and create an article, it's not going to be published. It's essentially sitting there pending review. If you wanted to do something like this, and let's say you're the cafe owner and you trust your baristas to simply go and release these blog posts without review, then we'd probably put them under the publisher category. But as we've got it set up right here, essentially we're saying, okay, the baristas are going to be able to create things, but it requires the manager to go in and publish them. So a manager can log in and publish those. Another thing we can do here, obviously, is just go and publish them through the backend. We could potentially just change the ability of the baristas to do that just by going into this, changing the group parent to publisher, and that escalates their access level up to the point where they can actually change the state. Let's go through and do a little bit of looking at what drives this, ability to create, modify, change the state, all that stuff. I can show you a couple different sections of the site. Let's see here. Okay, so let's go into the content section. We'll go to the article manager. This is basically what a barista is able to do at this point is create within this within this spot right here, not within the other ends. For instance, they don't have the ability to go and create users. They can't create categories or anything like that. All they can do is create in this section, and I'll show you why. One thing you're going to notice throughout the back end of Joomla, you're going to have this options button. It's going to be the same throughout the different components. Module manager, you're going to have, even within global configuration, you're going to have this options button. Let's take a look at what it does. Obviously, you've probably seen these things right here. This is all, what's default within the articles. But we go over here, and you'll always see this permissions tab. Go ahead and click on that. And essentially what it means is you flip through these, and you can see, well, the important part here is the calculated setting on the right side. Public doesn't have the ability to configure, access, create, delete, edit edit state or edit own. That would be their own personal, if they were to create, this is what they would create as their own stuff. Public doesn't have the ability to do that in the article manager component. But if we jump up to, let's say for instance, Barista, they are allowed to create and they're allowed to edit their own. Same as the author access group, because basically when you nest something under, it inherits the permissions. The reason why we didn't just use author is because in this case we may want to make Barista be able to do something that author can't. So it does everything that author can plus additional things. Let's say for instance we want the Barista to be able to modify the state of the article. That would be publish it. But we don't want them to edit other people's articles. So we just made that change. We'll go ahead and save and then check out. It'll show the calculated setting change. Okay. Go down to Barista. Now you can see they have the ability to publish and unpublish their own articles. Let's jump down to the employee manager, who inherits the same privileges as the publisher. Of course, an employee manager can edit, modify, they can change their own, they can change other people's. That's the difference between, of course, edit and edit own, is this allows you to be able to edit anything. Edit own is just your own stuff. But, of course, we want them to do one more thing. We want them to have the ability to delete these articles. So we're going to go ahead and allow that as well. Save. So take a look at that. Now they're allowed to do pretty much all that stuff. Configure component, access component, that's of course stuff we don't want the manager to do because that involves them logging into the back end of the site. I can show you in a second how we would make the employee manager, how we would escalate their permissions to the point where they can log into the back end of the site. But configure component, and that would be get into the options tab. Access component would be simply accessing this part right here. So access component gives you the ability to see this stuff right here. Configure component allows you to get into the options tab, and this would be the configuration portion. And that is actually the main difference between here, let's go into the user groups real quick. That's the main difference between the administrator and the super user. I will show you right now. Let's go into System and Global Configuration, and this is where a lot of the major settings are for the site. Also where the highest level permissions are kept. Go ahead and click on Permissions. Look at Administrator. Administrator is able to do all this stuff, log in, but what they can't do, and they actually call it super admin, but really what they mean here is configure component. Configure component for the global configuration. An administrator can log in, but they cannot get into this section right here that we're looking at. Super user, of course, is allowed to do that. That is, and you can look at the same thing. If we go ahead and click on Barista, of course, we're going to see that that they are not allowed. This is where you can separate out people from being able to log into the back end, or maybe they can access the site through the offline mode and all that stuff. That right there, if we wanted to make it so Barista logs into the back end, we can do that right through here. Let's look at somebody that we do want to be able to log into the back end, the developer. As you can see, since they're inheriting the administrator access, then they do have the ability to do that. And of course, access component, this means that they, by default, have access to the components in the back end of Joomla. But one thing that I kind of wanted to do, maybe we'll save it for a little bit later, is I want to show you how to make it so the developer can only access, for instance, the let's say the messaging portion or the Joomla update. I can just show you something real quick right now. No, we'll jump into this stuff later. I don't want to jump around too much. So, going back to where we were, we have the Barista blog. Since that blog post is published, at least it should be published now. Okay. Looks like it was put into the wrong category. I want to figure out why that is. The Barista blog category. So we'll refresh. Now we'll see the blog post that barista put in. And of course, because I'm still logged in as this particular barista, I can go through and edit the article with this little nifty sprocket right here. But let's go ahead and just to demonstrate, I'll log out and log in as barista number 2, and you can see that barista will not be able to modify it. So we go to Barista Blog, and shows it's written by Joe Barista. I believe I'm logged in as Tom Barista at this point, so click here. As you can see, I can't modify this other guy's blog post. But what I can do is, let's say I'm logged into the back end here, and I go to, let's see here, the article manager, and I click options. I'm going to go over to permissions, and we'll go to Barista. What we'll do here is change, of course we have by default calculated setting here was to be able to edit their own. Let's say we want baristas to be able to modify other baristas' content. We go ahead and just change the edit state right here, hit save, and this should allow me, I might have to re-log in. Nope, it automatically, it just came through with the different permission right there. So now, I'm not the owner of this article, I'm not the person that created it, but I can still go in and modify it. Pretty nifty. Let's change that back, because I think we probably prefer it so baristas can only modify their own. Okay. There. All right, so let's jump to the developer and kind of show you how we can limit their abilities in the back end of the site. A pretty important thing I don't see people doing very often. Of course, if you have a site, let's say we go to the user manager, let's say you've got 500 contacts, and maybe they're even, or maybe it's a mailing component that you have that has large mailing lists, and that's something that obviously you don't want to share with people. So so right now, as it stands, we'll go ahead and log into the back end. I actually want to open up a different browser so we can have 2 sessions going on at once. Give me just one moment here. Let's see. Okay, within Firefox here, I'm going to log in as the developer. Of course, within Chrome, I'm logging in as the super user so we can go and make modifications and see how that changes what they can do. So let's go developer. And as you can see, I log in. The developer, because they're inheriting everything that the administrator can do, they have the ability to see pretty much everything in the back end. They can get into any one of the components. They can modify pretty much anything. The one thing they can't do, because they're not a super user, is get into the global configuration. Let's go to, for instance, Joomla update. This is a good example. Looks like we're actually running an older version of Joomla right now. Maybe I don't want the developer to be able to update this version, or maybe I want them to only be able to update. We'll go through and let's show you how to configure that. So this particular user group is not able to see the Joomla update portion. It's actually pretty simple. So what we're going to do is go to Components and down to Joomla Update. And because this is a component just the same as the article manager, all that stuff, it's going to allow us to get access to this options menu, and we're going to see a permissions tab. And all I'm going to do is go down to the developer, and of course by default the developer is going to have access to this component. We're going to go and we're going to deny them the ability to do pretty much anything within this. Okay, save and close. And of course super user still able to see this, but we're going to refresh. And because I was on that page, it just says I'm not allowed to view that resource. Let's go back to the control panel and see how it looks when they log in. So they log in, we go to components, it's no longer on the list for them. Even if they're, to use the URL, as we can see just a second ago, they quite simply cannot, of course it's not going to work with the administrator there, they can't view it. So pretty nifty. Let's say for instance we wanted to make it so they can log into the admin panel but only be able to view, we don't want them to view the article manager. Let's say we only want them to be able to view the, we'll flip it around, only the Joomla update. Let's say you're having trouble updating the site and you want the developer to look at it. So by the way, probably this is a bad idea to go through and limit developers from doing a lot of things, because in a lot of times that's just going to create problems. I'm just doing these as examples. Let's go ahead and go down to user groups, and we're going to change the developers parent category. Let's say we just put them under registered. Okay. So at this point the developer is really not able to do much except log into the front end of the site and view the front end content that's set to registered. So what we're going to do here is give them access to the back end of the site. Actually I can show you here. Let's log out. Developer. See, we're blocked from being able to access the admin panel. Now let's go into the global configuration. We're going to go to permissions. We're going to go down to developer. And we're going to give them access to the admin login. But note that they still don't have access to access component to do anything really other than to log into the site and to log into the admin. Let's see what happens. They're going to log in and they've got pretty much nothing. They can view the help information and that's it. So essentially this is just stripped down. They can't see anything. This is starting from the opposite end of what we were just at. Some points you may say, okay, it's going to be quickest to give somebody access to everything and then limit one by one what you don't want them to have access to. In other cases you may find it quicker to give them access to nothing, as we're looking at right here, and then just one by one provide access to each individual component. So right now they've got access to the admin, but they can't see anything. Let's go and let's give them access to the Joomla update. Click Options, and let's go to Permissions, Developers, and we'll allow them to access, delete, edit the state, and configure. Actually, we don't want them to be able to configure because we don't want them to be able to change the permissions for any of the other user groups. So we're going to leave that as not allowed. Okay, and so let's go ahead and refresh here. And as you can see now, the components menu is showing up in the back end, and the developer is able to access the update component. But you'll notice, you click Options, they're not able to view the permissions for this particular component. So Basically, this allows them access to what they need to do, but blocks them from being able to escalate anybody else's permissions, which is a pretty important thing. Okay, let's go through and just give them access to a couple more things so we can give this developer the ability to do what they need to do. Let's go into the module manager, and we'll go into options there. Let's say, for instance, you want them to just be able to modify the content on the site. So developer, and we, again, don't want to allow them to configure the component. We want them to be able to access, create, delete, edit, and edit state. Okay, and let's give them access to the article manager and category manager. And this type of permission probably would be good for somebody that you want to be able to create content through the back end, but basically, limit them to that. So a developer, actually, you probably want to be able to access the extensions and all that stuff, maybe not the content. Okay, so let's take a look and see how that did. Refresh. So you can see the menus will automatically pop up when they have access to certain parts. So now we can get into the module manager. Once again, we go into, you'll notice that options actually isn't even something they can get into right now. We go into article manager. By giving them access to article manager, they're going to have access to category manager as well, an important thing. And of course they've got access to the update component. Okay, so that's the basics of limiting access within the back end of the site. Let's see here. Let me run through just to make sure. Let me go back into the global configuration. Make sure everybody knows the difference in permissions here. We'll just run through these real quick. Site login, the ability to log into the front end of the site. Admin login, the ability to log into the back end of the site. Administrator, root privileges, which allows you to get into, well, let's see here. Yeah, so basically admin login, administrator allows you to get into the back end. Super admin gives you access to global configuration. Access component, by default, you'll be able to, as admin or super admin, be able to access all the components in the back end. Create, delete, edit, we went over those, pretty straightforward. So that's the fundamentals there. Let me run through a couple of cool tips and tricks that people use, and then we can jump into some questions. Let's say, for example, we'll go into the front end of the site again here. We've got this promotional offer right here at the bottom that I put on before the webinar. Let's say, for instance, that is something, of course, that's available for people that are viewing the site as site visitors. We're going to assume these are people that are not customers yet, and we want to give them a really great promotional offer. But people that go to the site and then log in, those are people that you've already got as customers. Maybe you don't want them to see this promotional offer. You'd think that's a really simple thing to do with the current ACL setup that we've got, but it's actually not, because this module right here is set to public, and by default, because if we go back into the user groups, by default, basically everything here can see public content, and that's a problem. We need to go through and make it so we can hide some public content from the people that are logged in, and Joomla does address this by offering a guest user access. So what we're going to do is first go in and create an access level. And actually, this has already been done. You can see a guest access here. And let's go through and create a guest user group. And we give them, let's see here. Actually, hold on one second here. Viewing access level. I think we're good to go here, actually. We have the guest access level. This is not something you're going to see in your Joomla backend. So it needs to be created. And then what we're going to do is go to the Options tab. And you can use this little guest user group feature. And basically what this means is people that go to your site visitors, by default are going to show up as public. We do need to create a guest user group. I was wrong. So let me go ahead and create that. Sorry, it's been a while since I've set one of these up. So let's go to user groups. New. Okay. Okay, so we have a guest user group. Let's go ahead and we'll click the options again. We're going to set the guest user group as guest. And we'll save and close. So now what we can do, I'm going to go to this module right here. And first of all, I'm going to log out so we can view this as a site visitor. Okay, so we have no session within the front end of the site at this point. So let's go to the module manager. And here's the great deal promo. As you can see, it's got public access level. We're going to change that to guest. All right. Let me just go back and make sure we've got this set up properly here. Yeah, one thing I didn't do is we need to give the guest access level, we need to assign it to the guest user group. Once I verify that we've got this set up correctly, I will run through and just show you all one more time just to make sure. So let's log in as a barista, or no, let's log in as a customer who actually has registered access. And we go to the home page, and we set it up properly. As you can see, that is now hidden from the logged in user, but visible to the person that is not logged in. This is, in this case, it's not really overly useful because, obviously the person that's the site visitor that is logging in is going to see that promo. So it's not really something that's applicable here, but that's a good example. Where this is useful is, for instance, I know in a couple of sites we've had to set up separate menus for logged in users that basically look the same as the public menus. And that right there makes it useful. You can hide an entire menu from logged in users and present a completely different menu that looks the same. It's kind of advanced, but there are situations where you may find that useful. So let me just run through one more time to make sure. Let's see here. Run through the back end one more time just to show you how we set that up. So first thing we did is we created a guest user group with the group parent public. And then we went to viewing access levels and created a guest access level that has the ability to see it connects it to this particular group, the guest user group. And then all we do is just go into the options menu and select the guest user group to guest. That's that simple. You can put modules in that and it will block it from public view. Block it from, logged in view. While we're sitting here, let me just show you a couple of things here. Of course, you may, in this case, want to set, for instance, the new user registration to customers, because obviously we might want to add the ability to do certain things that for customers that registered users can't. This allows us to separate it out. You may want to make it so the customers can by default be able to activate their accounts by themselves, or in your case you may want to make it so they have to be activated by an administrator, somebody logging in and reviewing the account to make sure that it's not spam or anything like that. So that's pretty useful. The rest of this is pretty self-explanatory. Let's see here. What else did I want to go through? One thing that I should mention, if you're blocking content, let me show you an example. If you're blocking content or providing new content to logged-in users, right now we're logged in as a customer. And let's say, for instance, we want to add a new page. Let's add a new page that only they can view. Under locations, let's add a secret location tab. Maybe this is like a, yeah, whatever. We'll go ahead and run with it. So let's add a new article. Oh, no. There we go. Content, articles. Okay, so this is the secret location. And we'll just put some sample text in there. Now, notice that I'm leaving this as public. But then I go to the menu, main menu, and I'm going to add a menu item that only the customers can see. I'll put it to registered. Anybody that's logged in can see. Oops. Single article. Oops, there. Okay, so we'll registered. We'll make the menu item, the parent item locations. So now we'll refresh here, and there's going to be a sub-menu item called secret location here. This article right here, from what you can tell, let's log out and I'll show you. As a site visitor, we don't have access to that menu item, and you'd think that that protects the content for that menu item. So the secret location article is not visible. But it's important to note that if you have the article set to public, right here, if you have this set to public, all you're doing really is just hiding the menu item. Somebody that knows Joomla, that knows how to access menu items via a direct URL, articles via a direct URL, would be able to access the content of that article. It may even get indexed in Google or Yahoo or Bing. So it's really important that if you go through and protect a menu item, to protect the content as well. So let's go ahead and set this to register, and that will make it so somebody can't go through and view that article. So that's pretty important. Let's see here, what else we got. Bernie, are there any good questions that we can go through and start answering?
Yeah, there are. There are some
Okay.
good questions so far.
Well, let's bring them on. I mean, hopefully I didn't miss too much there, but go for it. Let's see.
Sure, yeah. Folks, if you haven't found that GoToMeeting slide out question area, find it. Post a question to Jonathan. We had a lot of people jump in at the beginning and let us know where they're attending from. Christian is attending from Romania, Abdul from Ghana, JP from South Africa, Richard from Tehachapi, California, and Abdi from Georgia, and Karen from Delaware. Lots of folks. Tom had a really interesting question I told him I would ask you. And Tom wrote, if you enable system-generated emails for different user types, what type of email does that group get? For instance, in the example where the baristas can author but not publish, would the publisher be notified that a new article is there and not published?
That would be really cool. But unfortunately, I don't believe there is an email that's sent out that lets somebody know that something needs to be published. So in this instance, no, they wouldn't. Really, a system-generated email would be a registration email. Or I'm trying to think of other examples. Bernie, can you think of any system-generated email examples?
No.
Yeah. It would be like, gosh, yeah. Honestly, the only one I can think of right now is registration, but there are a couple other emails that go out that you may want certain users to see. But no, unfortunately, that's not the case. There is a cool component or a third-party extension out there that I've used in the past that's actually really useful. Extended Reg Joomla. This extension right here, I believe it's available. Yeah, it's available for 2.5 and 3.0, 3.1. This takes the registration a step further and allows you to create emails like that. There's a lot of different options in this, and it really does. It does a lot of cool stuff, and some cool security stuff too. You can control password strength and all that stuff. So if you're looking for that functionality, I'd probably recommend looking into this or other extensions that are available. But no, by default, Joomla does not inform people of article publishing.
Okay. On a few sites, I know that the system administrator will get an email about an article that was published.
Yeah. Gosh, to be honest, this is something that I need to brush up on a little bit. I'm pretty sure we'll have to look at that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I wish we had more clear answer on that.
Ulysses has a comment. Great informative training. Thank you. And Lee posted a question for developers. Can I create an update-only user group and a user manager-only user group? Perhaps he's asking about sub-user groups to provide access building block style to different areas.
Well, really what you're limited to is giving them these basic abilities. Let me go back here. Basically, you can allow them to access certain components. You can allow them to create, delete, edit state, and edit own. So, all the different extensions that you load into Joomla, if they're properly coded, should, follow those same abilities. And so I guess what you're talking about is allowing them to edit, possibly, maybe not create. So you want them to be able to access the component. You want them to be able to edit. And that's basically, I believe, what you're talking about. Now, Bernie, is that kind of how you're reading that too?
Yeah, that's kind of what I got from it. Yep.
Yeah. So the answer is yes, you can do that. As far as what you can do within a specific component, really it depends on how far the developer goes with integrating the access levels. But for the most part, you can load pretty much any third-party extension, and it will you have an options tab, and it will allow you to provide specific access to certain user groups.
All right. Now, Drew had a question. Why did the Barista created article save in the wrong category? Did the Barista have the option?
Good question. Yeah, that's something that I didn't actually go in and fix. Let's go take a look at that menu item.
Yeah, I believe it's right in there.
Yep. So let's go into the add blog post. And, of course, we've got all this stuff set up. We go into the advanced options. And I believe, honestly, I think it's because I didn't select this default category. Yes, this is it. So essentially, we chose the category, but we did not make it so they can only post in this category. So that's the answer right there. You have to select default category and choose the category.
All right. Hopefully that answers your question. Kathy's attending from Louisiana. Alan is attending from the UK and says, this is just what I needed. Lisa wrote that there used to be a quote-unquote to be published email in 2.5, and she's asking, is that not in 3.1?
To be published email. I mean, I got to be honest with you. I have not dealt with this portion really as much as I should have, really. So I don't know the answer to that. We could get the answer to that and include it somewhere. Bernie, do we have a way to
Yeah, we're going to be contacting.
Yeah.
We're going to contact all of our attendees today with a link to watch a recording of this video, and we can attach any information we find out about those emails. Find some resources for you. Perhaps create them if they're not there. Pam is attending from Sheboygan, and she asks, when baristas don't have the edit state and the manager has to approve it, when the manager logs in, do they have a screen with pending blogs that need to be reviewed?
That's a good question. If they log into the front end of the site, I don't believe they see unpublished content. So, that's actually kind of a flaw in the workflow that we've got here. Good question, Pam. We can go through and test that. Let's take a look. Hold on one second. So let's go ahead and we'll log out here, or log in as a manager. Whoop, no, not manager one. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and unpublish the Find A to be a Barista. So the answer is no. They won't see the unpublished content because obviously it's unpublished. I believe the edit state on the front end, the only time that comes into play is if they go into the article to modify it. Did I just lose my session? I think I did.
No, we've got you still.
Okay, so I don't think that I've given them the ability to modify this. Maybe we move the manager. Let me take a look and just see how we've got this set up. Groups. And no. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, for some reason we just gave manager the registered access. I don't believe I went through and changed that. So, employee manager. Okay, so now we go in. We should see the edit button, yeah. And basically it gives us a publishing tab, and we can change the status here. But I'm not aware of a way to make it so they can view unpublished content on the front end. Let me show you a way that we can get around this. So what we do is we're going to create. Let me think about this. We're going to create a new group called pending. Let's see here. No. What I'm thinking is we can make it so if the baristas can change the state, they could put it into a specific state that allows for, that's pending, that's not visible to the front end, but is visible to the manager. And then the manager could go and review and change the state to public. That would probably be, are you following, Bernie? Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Yeah, it kind of makes sense.
It would be kind of a thrifty way of doing it, although it would still defeat the purpose because the baristas would still not have access, or would have access to publish. Yeah, so essentially, and I'd have to kind of play around a bit to get that to work properly, but essentially what I'd propose in that scenario would be to, again, make it so baristas can edit state. They would be able to set what we'd want actually is the ability for them to change the access level to, let's try it out, just for kicks. We're going to create a new access level. We'll give access to baristas and employees. We'll call it pending. Okay, and so also I believe we left it so baristas can modify the state. Let's take a look at that. Edit state, yes. Okay, so what I'm going to do is log out. Should have created a login module on the right, so I don't need to do that. But okay, Barista1 is going to log in, and they're going to go to their blog post and edit. Oh, you see this, guys? This is something you'll probably get frequently. Hopefully not too frequently, but when you mess around with different sessions, you end up with the content checked out, and so we just need to check that in. Check in. Okay. We're going to edit this, go to publishing, and what this barista is going to do is they created a new blog post. They're going to put it in the pending access level. So let's go back home. Of course, the barista's still going to see this in here because they can see things within the pending access level. But I'm going to go ahead and log out from the developer standpoint here and go to the front end of the site. Go to Barista Blogs. General site visitors still can't see what's in that access level, or they don't have the ability to see this content. So then we're going to log out as the barista, and we're going to pretend that we're the manager going in and reviewing this content. Tim Manager goes in, he goes into Barista Blogs, he can see this content, he clicks on the edit button, he reviews the content, and he goes to publishing. He says, okay, this is good to go, it's no longer pending, we're going to make it available to the public. We'll go ahead and hit save and close. And of course, as a Sally Public or whatever goes and views the site, she sees this article. So that is one way to get around that. Basically, as you saw right there, what that access level does is it allows, oh shoot, I got to log in here to show you. Barista. Shoot, hold on. Okay. Go ahead and edit. Basically what that access level does is it gives you this publishing tab right here. And provides you the ability to change the status and stuff like that. So so that would be one way that I would propose getting around that. Hopefully, I know that's kind of a workaround and it's not the cleanest, but I've seen people do that before, I believe, and it does work, as you can see. So.
All right. Let's see. Let's get back to a question here. Jonathan asked a question. How would you personally configure the website to allow people to join with different levels of permission through the website? As your login form only allowed customers to join the website. So how do, what if the baristas want to be able to register through the website? What if you wanted to offer that in a registration form? Would we need a third-party component or?
Very good question. Sign up today, registration form, advanced. I'm not aware of a way to do that. Unfortunately, I was hoping that I would see the ability within the the sign-up form to be able to sign up into different access levels, but again, I don't think that's possible. In general, allowing people to select their access level, I guess they didn't put that in for good reason. It really probably is only something a very select group of people would want.
Right. So
although I would say it'd be a cool feature though. For sure.
Yeah, it's up to administrators at this point.
I would check the extended registration component. This has a lot of features like that. So if you do need that functionality, probably checking this out would be good.
Sriara has posted a question. Hi, thanks for the webinar. It's very informative. In the example, even for a logged-in user, we see a login and sign-up links in the user menu. So is it possible to replace the login links or the login link with a logout link and to hide the sign-up link, so when they're logged in, they don't see that that register, that sign up, that call to action?
Yeah, good question. We'll start with the second portion of that question because that's the part that I can give good news for. To be able to hide the sign up from people that are logged in, that's a perfect example of our guest user access level. Let's go to the menu. Go to main menu. Oh, no, sorry, user menu. And this sign up today, of course, we don't want logged in people to see that. So we're going to change the access level to guest. Save and close. And let's log in as customer. And as you can see, that hides the sign up. And thank you for asking that, because that is an even better example of why you would want to use the guest user access level. To answer the first question, there's really not a way to do that, unfortunately. Bernie, can you go over the first part of that question one more time?
It was roughly the same thing. So, like log in. We're already logged in. So on your user menu there, is there any way to replace that with log out? Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saying within this menu,
Oh, John, I think we lost you. We lost your audio. Folks, it appears we have lost John's audio. One moment here. Let me get him back. One second. Folks, I'll be right back with you. Make sure John still has his audio. All right, John is working on it.
Okay, I think I got it. Yep.
Yep, we got you. Okay.
Right. My USB is a little fluky right now. Okay, so to jump in there again, if you're asking if the log out within a menu item, to be able to click on a menu item and log out, I don't believe that is possible within 3.0. I know it wasn't possible in 2.5, and I haven't seen an example of it working properly. What it would be be able to create a menu item, and there would be a menu item type called logout. So let's see, it would be under User Manager. As you can see, there is no logout, unfortunately. But the reason why they don't necessarily have this, at least I believe the reason why, would be that you can very simply have that logout button right on the home page in that spot by using the login module. And this is probably the better way to do it anyways. So login CloudBox, we of course want it to be public. Let's put it in on the, we're using Protostar, so we'll go on the right side. So here, the logout button will always be available for the person. If they click the logout button, they're going to see the login. So using the login module that's default to Joomla, that is the way to go in this case. I know in the past within sites that we've developed, we have found ways around that. If you need a menu item or maybe a link or a button that does it, that logs you out, there is, I believe, an extension that does that. Let's just go ahead and check if I can remember which one we've used in the past. Quick Logout, I believe, is the one that we used. Yep, it just adds a menu item to Joomla 2.5 and 3.0 that allows people to log out with menu item. Unfortunately, it's not built into Joomla, but here's the answer right here. So answer number one, I guess, would be use the login module. Answer number two, use the extension if you absolutely need that. It is non-commercial, so.
All right, a lot of people saying thanks, and thanks for the answers that you've already provided. John posted a question, or I'm sorry, a comment kind of following up on the email question. John wrote, in 2.5, the admin got an email when an article was submitted. The admin had to toggle to publish the option. or toggle to the publish option, it gave the admin ability to review the content before it was published. Pam kind of followed up.
That's great.
Yeah. By default, then, Pam says, how do publishers, if it's not available in 3.0, how do publishers find the content that's waiting to be published?
You know, to be perfectly honest, this, again, is something that I haven't really gotten into. I haven't been on that end of it. It's something that now that we bring it up in this webinar, I need to go and brush up on that. But I imagine, because that was in 2.5, we will have the same abilities in 3.1. So I'm going to confidently say that there is an email that goes out when something needs to be published. We'll test that immediately after this webinar. I'm going to go through and test that.
All right. Walter has posted a question. I have a number of members for my society. What is the best way to give a member only access to the site and still control who is a current member in their membership lapses?
Good question. So basically, you're saying that you want any member to go in and modify other members. Am I correct in thinking this, Bernie? One member can go in and modify all the other users, basically.
I have a number of members for my society. What's the best way to give a member only access to the site and still control who is a current member? Yeah, I think we'd need some clarification on the question. It's kind of confusing to me, actually.
I think in general, if you need a user to be able to modify other users, that's something that you're going to need to give them back-end access to. But what you can do is, we'll create that functionality real quick. It'll just take a moment. So let's go and create a new user group.
You know, while you're doing that, Walter did follow up. I need a special area for members only. They should only have access while they are members.
Yeah, that would be that's a simple portion too. Let's do that. We'll do two birds with one stone here. I will create a section for members only, and we'll allow those same members to go into the back end and only modify the user manager. So so let's go ahead and we'll create a group called members. We're going to give them registered access as the group parent. Then I'm going to go and create a user in that group. We'll call him registered. Reggie registered. And registered. Okay. Oh, nope, I need to assign a user group to him. Is that how you spell Reg? I think there's an E in there. Reggie. There we go. No? Anyways. Let's not worry about that. Okay, so members. Okay. So now what we're going to do is go into the user manager, go into options, permissions, members, and we want people to be able to edit the state of users. These users will be able to go in and edit the state of other members. And then, of course, we need to go into the global configuration and give the member access level the ability to get into the back end of the site as well. So we're going to go admin login allowed. So that just gave them that ability. Now let's go ahead and we'll go into the menu manager. We'll do something kind of nifty here. Copy that URL. We're going to go into the user menu. Okay. I'm going to just make this, because there is no menu item that points you to the back end of the site, we'll just go to system links and external URL. And we'll put in a link to the back end of the site. And we're going to make this only available to, oh, I should have created an access level for members as well. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, users, access levels. Oops. Okay. Okay. So now a site visitor, of course, they see the user menu here. Nothing's there. We'll go ahead and log in as member. And did I not put the user in correctly there? Let's see. Must not have saved. Oops. Okay. So there, we'll go ahead and try. Okay, so he logs in, and something still isn't set up correctly. Let's take a look at it. User manager. Modify members available to this user group. Oh, I don't think I gave him access to that area. That's why. Okay, so we need to assign this guy to the members user group. And you can make it if, for instance, you want people that sign up to, to have a certain access level. You can make it so when they first sign up, they get automatically injected into this user group. So now we refresh. We should see that. What am I doing wrong here? Okay, he has access to the member user group. And member user group has the ability, let's see here, members. Okay. Not sure what I'm doing wrong here, but ultimately what we want to show you is that when you limit them to the user manager, you can point them to the back end of the site. Of course, I'm going to have to do it in Firefox here because I've got a super user session going on. And okay, I'm doing something wrong here. Hold on one second. User manager, options, permissions. Okay, because what I didn't do is I didn't allow them access to this component, the user manager. So we'll go ahead and save. We'll go back. There we go. So now you can give members access to the back end of the site with a reasonable belief that they're not going to, be able to break anything really. All they can do is go in and go into the user manager. They can't actually modify these users. They can't add users. If you look closely, there's no add, remove. That's basically when you limit what somebody does. It's basically limiting the options, the buttons they have up on the top right here. But what you can do is you can enable and disable people. Hopefully that answers this question. So what I was attempting to do, and obviously I messed up somewhere along the way, was to make it so when you log in as a member, you see a button right here that says, activate member. You click on that, it takes you to the admin panel, and you see this. You could even post a link directly to this, and after logging in, it should take you right there. So that's a thrifty way of doing what you're looking to do, at least it would seem.
All right. You know what? We are just about out of time today, and we have a lot of questions that have gone unanswered. But we're going to get to one more question, and I think it's just more of a comment from Kathy, a workaround, and that's with that create an article menu item that you have. You could assign all those articles to a to be published category, and then when so just a workaround. Sander has come in with a few comments too. Sander's going to be the host of our webinar on Monday, or the presenter on Monday. Sander, I forget what you were explaining just a few minutes ago. Log in, log out. Changing access levels requires to log in and log out again, and then changes will become visible. Access levels are stored in the session. Yeah.
Yep, that is a good point. If I make a menu item, available for the user group that I'm logged in as, that will show the menu item right away. But if I make a change to the user group itself, yeah, he's absolutely right. You do need to log out to get that new privilege.
Okay, so we are out of time. A lot of really nice compliments for you, John. Thanks for the answer. Thanks. Great information. Fantastic. I'm going to change the presenter back to me, and everyone should be able to see my screen now. This is our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CloudAccess. This is where we're going to post a copy of this webinar later today. I'm going to scroll down here. It will be in this playlist, Special Joomla Webinars, Extensions, Upgrades, and Development. And if you would like to post some more questions, just tweet to us at CloudAccess. And we'll also get back to you, everyone that attended or registered for today's webinar. We'll send you a link to this recording. And I think John's going to include some additional information that he finds about emails.
Yeah, we'll try to get some knowledge-based articles up there. I know that we're kind of lacking in the ACL category.
Right, and speaking of our knowledge base, I just want to point out that we do have a knowledge base full of hundreds of how-to documents and videos. We have a user manager category for Joomla 3.0 and 3.1. I'm going to send everybody a link to this right now, and this is got a lot of good information, a lot of it that Jonathan covered today, kind of a cheat sheet of sorts. And also, if you're at our site and you go to training, you can access that knowledge base here or go to Joomla Webinars. Just want to point out that we have a lot of upcoming special webinars. And here's today's, but specifically we have the ACL Manager webinar. Now, ACL Manager is an extension, and it features a clickable permissions grid that makes ACL management a lot easier. And Sander is going to come in, Sander Potcher, I believe. Sander, I know you're attending today, and I apologize if I messed up pronouncing your name, but Sander is going to come in and teach us about the ACL Manager. Sander's very active in the Joomla community, serving on leadership teams and attending Joomla events around the world. This is a very, very popular extension, and you are all invited to attend. It's Monday, this upcoming Monday at 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and hopefully we see you there. John, do you want to say goodbye?
Yeah, absolutely. I say I look forward to seeing that ACL Manager webinar as well. But absolutely, if you guys have any additional questions, let us know. Obviously, submit support tickets, and we can help you out with any of this stuff.
All right, everybody. Take care. Thanks for attending, and we hope to see you in a webinar soon.